I tried recording this multiple times last night, but it kept just being a jumbled, incoherent, nonsensical mess. It was like my very own personal episode of Lost. In all honesty, though, this is one of the most wonderful television experiences that I've ever had in my life. Season 1, you get this mystery and this immediate lore of everything and the just overall thrilling experience that the show is going to be, and they really push that mystery of the island so quickly. It's immediately like you have all these questions, you're wondering what the hell's going on. You get the hatch. Finally, at the end of the season, the hatch opens, and then that season ends. That's fucking insane. Season 2 with the others. The others were such a wonderful addition to that. And Ben's character being introduced, Ben is easily probably one of my favorite characters in the entire show. He is incredible as far as how complex he is. You could do all sorts of breakdowns and different takes on what he contributes to the story itself and just what he adds to it. Love him or hate him, he's incredible. So yeah, season 2 had one of my favorite cliffhangers of any television episode ever. When Michael and Sawyer are just coming into the beach after the ship gets blown up and Walt gets captured, Jin comes running out with his hands bound, talking about others and freaking out as they're trying to untie him. He looks and he just points it and says others. And you see this literally a couple of frames worth, maybe a split second of people coming towards them, and then it cuts to credits. And that was one of the most amazing things that I've ever seen, ever. That finale for that one was pretty wild, obviously. Absolutely fucking bonkers with, Michael shooting Ana Lucia and Libby, everything leading up to that. I mean, and then him leaving with Walt. And just how the stakes of the way season 2 ends, it's just insane. Now, I've heard that season 3 is considered the weakest season or the most disliked season. That I understand why. Season 3 felt like they had to suddenly start coming up with answers. Felt like suddenly they really had to follow through with, okay, what is the background of all of this? What is the reason for why these people are here? What is the backstory? So because it felt like they had to kind of catch up on that and drive the plot so much in that direction for season 3, they had to kind of let the characters and the personal connection we had with them. We were so invested in these characters that suddenly it feels like they all take a back seat. It feels like all the emotional stakes are suddenly just kind of disregarded for a little while. We barely see Jack in season 3. He's essentially captive. The fact that the characters are captive a lot of that time, it felt like watching the Dark Knight Rises, when he's just stuck in that hole for an hour and a half of the fucking movie. No one wants to see the characters that they love sitting in one place and stuck and just doing nothing, basically. So I get why. There's all sorts of reasons why I get why people aren't crazy about season 3. It's such a huge shift. It's not in a bad way, not in a good way. I think it's fine either way, but not gonna lie, that's when I started, all right, I can flip this on while I'm eating something. I can kind of just listen to it and not, I think because I knew going in, I had a couple friends recently really recommend this show to me, and I think one of them told me that I was prepared for that season to kind of be a shift, because apparently they thought they wanted to end it, and everyone at ABC was like, no, you have to keep going. So that was a very confusing, you can see how it was an oh shit moment for them in that season. Having said all that, season 3 has I think one of the coolest season finales that I've ever seen in any show. The flash forward suddenly with Jack talking to Kate, having to go back, and then that is such a huge jump suddenly. I think 3 years, what we know with the timeline, 3 years into the future after they were in LA for a while as the Oceanic Six. That's such a wild ballsy move. Is all suddenly they're just telling us to me oh yeah, they get off at some point, and that was such a juicy way to end the season. Now right when season 3 ended, I was like, holy shit, I think that single-handedly made me a huge fan of the show. That the way that flash forward was handled, because we got so used to every flashback being in the past, and that was the first time we had finally gotten a jump forward. Because they don't reveal too much. You see Jack drinking on the plane. You assume all of this is just before, until he sees Kate, obviously. Anyway, season 3 was it starts off a little, I don't want to say confused. It starts off in one way and ends on a high note, which is great. Then I love how season 4 was really getting into them, how they got off the island in the first place, and just the reason why Oceanic 6 was even a thing. What a crazy finale in that one as well, with the ship blowing up as they're taking off in the helicopter. While I'm on that, the CGI really holds up very well in this show. You know, they when I was making some clips of this before, I didn't want to bring up the point that I made earlier. Doesn't matter. Jurassic Park is very similar to this, where Lost feels like they were still using practical effects and actual set pieces, and the combination of the art direction and the real life settings and locations combined with that minimal use of CGI is what I really appreciated about the show. All the CGI is used just sparingly and just enough to for it to work, and it's not overkill. Even when there are moments where the CGI is clearly early, mid 2000s, late 2000s, you can see how dated it is. Even when you see that, it's only for a glimpse. You can see that they didn't want to overdo it. I love the show's use of the CGI and VFX, and as well as the putting that limit on it. I think people can learn something from that nowadays, where the minimalistic approach to those things can be a lot better than relying on CGI, obviously. So yeah, season 4 and that whole the whole ship blowing up and that whole epic crazy. I mean, the show felt like it had finally, like it had felt where season 3 was a lot of filler. Season 4 suddenly went back to what got us hooked on it in the first place, which is all that excitement, all of these high stakes. Lost really relies on that. The mystery and intrigue, the high stakes, and the excitement. That's the best part about this show. So once we get into season 5, and we, if I remember, I burned through all of it so much. I'm trying to really try to separate what happened in each season. Season 5, where we see what everyone else was doing for those 3 years while they were all off the island. We see how they have to get back to the island and why they're meant to go back. Season 5 and 6 feel like they go kind of one after the other, so it's hard for me to find a specific separation of the two, because the story was so nicely built up, and the way that it was presented was so, it just went into itself very nicely. So yeah, season 6, the main reason I held off on watching this show for many years, and why I'm so late to this, I heard so many mixed things about the way it ended, and it's one of those things. I know that because of how much time it is invested into a TV show, and people spend so many years with these characters, I know that it's very clear, obviously nowadays, that like if a series ending isn't amazing, people get pissed. People get pretty upset if the ending isn't what they want, or what they're predicting it's going to be, whatever. Like your expectations, you trying to predict. I don't know why people try to analyze stories and try to analyze shows or movies or whatever. I never try to do that, because I think it's just important to let things happen as the filmmakers are presenting it to us, and I think it's very important to just take it as it comes and not really think about it too much. Like I go off of, I always, just like when listening to music, I try to just like go off of how it makes me feel instead of thinking about it so much. Anyway, yeah, the way that this ended, I thought was really beautiful. I thought it was incredible, as far as, yeah, okay, so you could say, okay, they were dead the whole time, and what is the island, purgatory? There's this all these themes of good and evil, heaven and hell, and the afterlife, what our lives mean, all that shit, and that felt like a very appropriate ending. It was the one thing that actually made sense of all of it in the first place. I can see a lot of people obviously the main reason why people would get upset about the way the show ends is because they feel like, okay, everything I invested in, or all these all the emotional I can see why people wouldn't, like an ending that basically, in a literal sense, disregards everything that happened. The problem with It Was All a Dream, where everybody was dead the whole time, is you feel like everything that you just witnessed basically didn't happen at all, or that it doesn't even exist, or whatever. That's not really what the point of the show is, though, or at least that's not. I feel like there's a lot more of an abstract, symbolic take than that. That's just it was just a very digestible way for them to make sense of everything that had happened. But that doesn't mean that it didn't happen. I feel like to me, what the story is, or what the entirety of the show Lost is how people affect each other, and in the importance that people have in each other's lives, whether or not it's in this life or the afterlife or in the in-between. To me, the whole point of it is the love that everyone has for each other, and the connections that we make as human beings transcend time and space and anything else. There's no way that our physical bodies are limited to the feelings that we have towards each other. That's kind of what I took away from it, at least, is like the human spirit is not easily discouraged, I guess. the human spirit will always have the desire to continue regardless of what form it takes. That's kind of how, what my whole takeaway from all of this was. The most beautiful thing was at the very end, when Jack is talking to his father and he says, Kate said we were leaving, and his dad says, no, moving on. I mean, Jesus Christ, those last few episodes really gutted me, and I was just crying so much throughout these last few episodes. Every time people with specific characters would touch each other, and you'd see that flashback of everything. When Sayid sees Shannon, and we get that whole full circle. This entire show has nothing but really beautiful full circle moments, and that is so incredible to watch. But yeah, that ending, when you see everything that they had been through, and that they found this place for all of them to meet together. I mean, that was such a wonderful thing to see. I really, really loved the meaning behind it. The show is one of those things, and the meaning of it is way more important than everything that we're seeing. All of the unspoken emotions, or the feelings that can't be really put into words, and the out of this world kind of connections that we have with anything in the arts is what this show does in just a bountiful. It's such a large amount of something that feels larger than life. The show feels like it's very much beyond TV in a lot of ways, and I don't know what else I could say about it. I mean, Jesus Christ, that part at the end when the sub is going down and Jin stays with Sun, and then all of a sudden at the same time you're seeing this other timeline of them if they had never crashed, them, all their lives being so perfect. That as far as what I will say about season 6, that combination of the timeline of them, still at the island, and them if they never crashed, and all their lives being, simple and lacking any sort of stress and lacking any sort of lacking any sort of harshness to their reality. Like you could see how lovely their lives could have been, which is such a bittersweet thing. That was such a bittersweet moment. Seeing these characters in a way that we wanted them, seeing the characters in a way that we wanted to see them and we're hoping for them, as opposed to what the show actually was, which was a lot of tragedy and a lot of loss. Seeing them suddenly have these normal lives was such a wonderful juxtaposition with all of the chaos that was happening on the island. So yeah, season 6 and the whole ending I thought was so brilliant. I can understand completely. This is why watching things outside of when they're happening culturally or experiencing things for yourself. This show is an example of, like, don't listen to what people have to say, or always take reviews with a grain of salt, regardless of whatever they're saying, This show, I'm so glad that I gave it a chance, and I'm so grateful for the handful of people in my life that highly recommended it, and were like, everybody should. This is one of those, like, everybody should watch this show at least once kind of thing. But yeah, I can see people getting, I guess, upset with how that ended at the time, but I thought it was great. I thought it was all really lovely for what it is, or for what this show is trying to do when it comes to these types of stories, especially these stories that are not conventional. They're not like the typical approach to filmmaking or television or anything like that. When something isn't so vanilla in that way, it's I kind of instinctually just go with it, and just love watching, like I said earlier, watching everything happen and just kind of watching it all unfold as it should. So yeah, I highly recommend this show. It was interesting watching this after watching The Leftovers and Watchmen. I had an idea of how Damon Lindelof's style was, so it was great seeing what his original, breakout show was, and seeing how his style came to be. I guess there's not much else to be said. I think all of it was obviously, like, very thought-provoking, and it doesn't let up. It feels like the excitement never stops. Even when it is slowing down, it's really, a slow episode of Lost is still way better than than most TV shows that you'll see. The characters are so lovable. I can't get into talking about any of the characters individually, honestly, because there's not only too many of them, but I could make a video about each one of them. Like, of course, we got our main people: Jack, Kate, Sawyer, Hurley, Saeed, John Locke, Ben, Desmond, so on and so on. Like, those main people they're so well written. They're just so, like, all of these archetypes have their specific purpose, and they play such a pivotal role in what the story is trying to be, and they all are examples of all these different walks of life. Like, how could this show not succeed when you have this everybody from all different parts of the world being able to relate to one of these characters to some extent, obviously. So, I related to Charlie very much, being a musician, and I don't have a heroin addiction. I've never had any issues with like that shit, but the moment where he hears his band on the radio and all of that, just all of the him being a musician, all those aspects to his character were just really relatable for me. That was what I was able to relate to the most, obviously. So yeah, fuck. I don't know if I'm ever gonna. I wanted to get like a solid take of this, and I just wanted to upload it on its own and not really mess with it, because I anytime I rewatch these things and go through the edit, it kind of fucks with how I look at it. But hey, to my friends who recommended this show to me, thank you guys so much. Holy shit, I'm so glad that that I gave this show a chance. This is another reason for this video, or another thing that I will say, I guess, is give things a chance and don't have any expectations. I think I just, I went into this thinking, you know what, even if I get really into it and I get sucked in and it kicks me in the nuts, like with the end, I was totally preparing myself for if the ending is really that rough, then I will just be ready for it. Like I was anticipating it. And then, when you hear if something is so bad or people, like when Sopranos finale aired, like people hated it. It's like when you hear so many bad things, what's funny is that'll keep my expectations lower, actually. If you have low expectations, anything's gonna be better, I guess. But I think because I was expecting something so like extreme, and then it was just a simple like, oh yeah, they were all dead the whole time, but that's such a basic. Just like Sopranos, I don't think that what they're showing us, it's never as simple as what we think it is. I think that's such an absurd thing to say, like were they dead the entire time? Yes, but also not. Like that's kind of what the show says to me, is that there are all sorts of different versions of our lives out there all at once. Like there are all sorts of parallel universe versions of ourselves, and there's got to be like other variations of who we are, and it's all non-existent and existent at the same time. I feel like I've lived millions of lives and can feel so many different versions of myself at the same time. And that's kind of, in a nutshell, what the show is to me. It's a lot more. To me, it's a lot more than that, at least. People have all sorts of theories. You can literally, the showrunners could literally tell me, no, it actually means this. I'm still going to be like, no, like, this is my take on it. So, yeah, this show seriously does transcend anything that I've seen. I think only 6 Feet Under has really made me feel that way too, because 6 Feet Under is also a show that revolves so much around death, and because of that theme, because of these themes of what is the meaning of life and what is our purpose, what does it mean to be human? That's what I got out of this show, is what does it mean to be a person? And that the ending just really drove that home so much, that life and death, we're all together all the time, and we all will be together again. That was one of the most lovely things I took away from it, is that we will all be together someday, hopefully, if there is anything after this. And if not, we'll still figure out a way to fucking get back to each other, maybe. I don't know, this is such a lovely, this show can really spawn a lovely dialogue about what it means to be a person. This whole show could there are all sorts of philosophical themes in this, and so much meaning beyond the numbers are cursed and we have to push the button, like all of that stuff. The entire time I was watching it, it felt like all of that was an allegory or some sort of metaphor for something else entirely, and what that is completely different to each and every one of us. Like, to me, the button can literally, all that represented was the power and butterfly effect of every choice that we make. Like, the button literally is, do we say yes or no? Do we choose to go with this one, or do we choose to go there? There's a fork in the road and you can only pick either one. Which do we choose? That's kind of what the button was to me. The numbers to me was how math connects everything. There's all sorts of just like shit that you can find with this, and things that you can look at it in your own way. Well, I could sound like a fucking idiot saying all this shit that I'm saying right now. I'm just I'm just purely going off of like, oh, like what do I kind of get from a feeling standpoint? What is the show saying to me, and what are the creators trying to get through to me, right? So that's all that I took away from it. And God, you could have so much fun with this show. This show, I already want to rewatch it with somebody. Like, I want to find a friend of mine or a family member, whoever, you know, one of my parents, somebody who hasn't seen it, and I could watch the entire thing through with them again. I could watch this show at least 2 or 3 more times in my lifetime, because it's only going to get that much more interesting on a rewatch. It's like Donnie Darko or anything where you're only going to enjoy it more as you start to, fill all those puzzle pieces and see all those connections, having, knowing what you know now, going back into it, right? So, it Lost, 10 out of 10, like easily one of my, like a top 10 show for me, one of my favorite television viewing experiences in my life. I'm so glad that I gave it a chance, and I'm so glad that, people, this show's old now though too, but it's nice to see, like, oh wow, like original stuff was happening at that time still, and TV, like I've said in other videos, like 2000s television was just elite on another level, and this show is only further proof of that. Yeah, wow, definitely worth a couple of couple of viewings. It's definitely worth a couple of viewings. I was gonna say something else, and now I'm forgetting it. It was very refreshing to watch something so original, or watch something that stands out so much from everything that I see nowadays, in a time where all I'm seeing is fucking remakes, reboots, spin-offs, pandering, just terrible ideas for movies and TV shows. Very lazy approaches is all I get frustrated with nowadays, with the industry of music and film and television, all the entertainment and the arts. I am frustrated at how much laziness that there is, and how people are just relying on tech to make everything for them nowadays. So in a time where I'm seeing nothing but like brain rot, garbage quality internet bullshit, suddenly I'm watching Lost, and I'm like, oh my God, this is why I fucking love TV in the first place. This is why I fell in love with storytelling right off the bat as a kid. That this show literally made me feel like I was young again, and I was watching something exciting. I only want to feel excitement for as many things as possible in my life right now, outside of television, movies, and all this shit too. I'm so excited about having new experiences and doing all sorts of things in my life, and I think this show is just one of those experiences. It felt like, I'm sad now that I don't have any more to watch. It was such the best thing you can have is a TV show that's got so much to it, because you always have more to. Lost was one of those things. Every time I got home, or every time I was just like, I feel like watching something, let me throw it on. There's 120 fucking episodes. So many episodes of it, I was like, oh, it'll take me forever to finish it. I finished it in a month and a half. I started around December this past year, a couple months, literally a month and a half ago. And it was so easy to burn through it, because I fucking enjoyed the shit out of it. It was very, very good. And I want more of that. I'm so craving the excitement that I felt watching this show with everything else that I experience and listen to and watch and whatever. I fucking love it. I crave that a lot now. So yeah, definitely recommend this. If you haven't watched Lost, I don't know why you're watching this video. I hope even if you know the ending, even if you're gonna spoil the ending for yourself without context, I actually watched like the ending clip one time on my phone, like years ago, like a while ago, thinking, I'll probably never watch this show. And I kind of knew what it was at the end, but without context for any of why they're in their room, or why they're in that room, or why Jack is out in the bamboo field and shit like that. Like all of that out of context, it has zero impact compared to watching everything leading up to it. So yeah, I fucking can't wait to feel like that again with another TV show, and I can't wait for whatever new experiences I might have in movies and TV and music. I sincerely appreciate when people really put the work in, and you can see they put in a lot of effort for what they were trying to do. They fucking nailed it, and they knocked it out of the park, in my opinion. Like, I can't picture the show being any other way. I can't picture anything being taken out or added. This show literally feels like a perfectly wrapped present and a little bow on it, and everything is just so meticulously placed in the most, and it's just the most perfect way. It's really perfect for what it is, and I think that's something to be said about these types of stories. Is for what are they trying to do with it, and did they make that point, or did they leave an impression on you? I 100% have had an impression left on me, and yeah, appreciate good stories, good TV and movies. I could maybe talk about some more stuff. The only reason I don't show clips with these videos is because I am constantly concerned about copyright issues, and I never want to worry about something being taken down, or, you know, like, obviously showing clips of the show while I'm talking about all of this would take it up a notch so much. It would be way better to watch a lot of that stuff with this, but these videos are kind of they're meant to be listened to, as hard as I might be to listen to. I'm sorry that I stutter and that I have a weird thing with talking. I'm trying to get better at that. I don't know why. I feel like I need a speech therapist or something. I'm so used to fucking communicating through song and dance that I don't know how to be like a real person and just talk normally. A lot of times I feel like I'm trying to like make things sound more interesting too, and not just say what the fuck I want to say. So I think the more I do these videos, hopefully the better I'm getting at it, or I never get better at it. And this is just a distinction between human and AI. Like, AI can never do this shit. AI can never speak so poorly like I am and stutter over itself, because it's too good. Anyway, so yeah, thank you guys for watching this. I had such a blast watching this show, and I can't wait for the next one. I think I'm gonna watch Mad Men or something else soon that I still have to like watch that. I have to watch Handmaid's Tale. There's a lot of like decent TV shows in recent years, and even older TV shows that I've been meaning to get into, but I highly recommend this one. I recommend anybody watch that. Thank you, Damon Lindelof and J.J. Abrams.